Ooh, alright. Woo. This is light work. Come on, spill the tea. Yeah. Ooh.
You are tuned into DAR Sports Media, the world of wrestling. It's a huge wrestling week. A lot of big things happened. A lot of big things didn't happen, and I think that's going to be the vibe of this this show. But you know, obviously, main event Raw on Netflix. You know, I think it's shared by pretty much everybody who we interact with us. I mean, there's some people carrying water and trying to act smart and this is actually you know, but you know, it'd been a long time since I had been that excited for a WWE show, and oh boy, the matches were good. None of them what I would call great. But the show was just everybody that I know who is, and these are like faithful wrestling fans, like people who don't even, you know, not your regular smarky parasocial weirdos on Twitter, like people who I've been friends with, who are friends of wrestling, who have loved WWE stuff, who have loved AEW stuff, who are just regular wrestling fans who I've been friends with for, you know, decade and a half. Pretty much every single one of them was like, all right, I'm going to bed. I'll catch Punk and Rollins some other time. It was a chore at times. The show was very self-congratulatory and very slow and very everything that isn't, and like, I understand, you know, people are going to be out there, oh, it was supposed to be an advertisement for WWE. Like, I get it. Does it need to be a 3 hour and 15-minute advertisement for WWE? Like, if that's what we were going to do, then the show didn't need to be that damn long. I get it. Like, what the intent of the show is to introduce it to a lot of new audience and to convey, like, hey, the WWE is happening. This place is a big deal. Look at all these celebs. Look at all these people who are here. Look how big of a deal this is. But there was just way too much of that, because while a new viewer might, okay, I get it. I get, like, you know, a new viewer would say, okay, I get it. I get this is a big deal. I see the celebrities, but if this is what I'm going to sit here and watch is shots of people in the crowd for 3 hours a week, then I don't know if I want to keep trying to watch this. I mean, to me, they got and I do admit that the opening segment was fucking awkward with Cody Rhodes standing in the crowd like a fucking chump. What I will say is, I think where they were trying to go with that is their sister company, UFC. That's every single event. And they kind of got the same vibe, because they would show people and then there would be a big pop in the crowd. That's like a UFC. That's like kind of like I don't want to call it maybe like a tradition, but like every show, you know, when you get to the co-mains or the mains, they'll cut to the crowd and be like, oh, it's the number 5 rank. And they do the little punch thing and the crowd goes fucking ape shit if it's somebody that the crowd likes. Usually they're not going to show people who the crowd don't like, you know, and then they'll show one of the Hall of Famers who's in attendance to watch the fights, and the crowd will go fucking crazy. And then they'll show a celebrity. So like, I think that's what they were doing with having the wrestlers in the crowd. Yeah. Because again, of the casual viewer, like to us who are deep in the wrestling bubble, you know, that's like an old saying, like you're on this side of the rail, you're on that side of the rail. And so that was like, yo, they look like shit. Like, what is this? Like, why are you making people look fucking stupid by having them sit in the crowd? But like I said, that is what the UFC does. It's very successful. Maybe they expected that a lot of people who were tuning into this wouldn't have taken it any other way than like, oh shit, look at these stars, there must be a big deal, listen to the crowd reaction. So that's that on that. The Hulk Hogan thing, let's do the Hulk Hogan thing.
Oh boy,
that guy Cam, he must have, if I was him, I'd have to tap into the OnlyFans agencies and get somebody else to respond to these motherfuckers all day. Because I don't, You got to be a different type of strong. You know, I've had a couple of interactions on the internet or a couple of things that I posted that made me question all of this. I'm going to be on here on like a luchador mask. Like, I don't know if I really want to be internet and content famous because I get sick of just explaining the same shit to people over and over and over and over again. And I shouldn't be shocked because we see this stuff. We've seen it for years. I just don't know how people were struggling so bad to grasp what he was saying and what the difference is. You know, people, he's just a race, has nothing to do with politics. Because look, the Undertaker got cheered and he talks about MAGA and whatever on his podcast. I just don't. How can you be like a sentient adult and not understand the difference between somebody saying this is who I vote for and this is why and these are my beliefs, and they say it in a respectful manner on a podcast or whatever it is that they do? That's their own much smaller audience versus somebody who has made themselves a front-facing spokesperson of the movement, which will be seen and perceived by a much, much, much larger audience.
He came to the show. Like Hogan came in a MAGA. He arrived in a MAGA
shirt.
Like, just like,
how do you not fucking understand the difference between those two things? How?
Let me also be clear though, like the whole MAGA thing, who voted for Trump and all that shit. Like, we don't get into politics here on DAR Sports and Media typically. You know, we'll save that for our social media feeds if you want to. But I think people have no nuance in this. Is that if you go in that locker room, probably more people than you would assume also made the same voting decisions. And that's their prerogative. That's their choice. I mean, I think we also, as wrestling fans tend to believe that everyone is as liberal or should be as liberal as they are. And I just don't think that's realistic because, to be fair, look at the business we're in. Also, look at the country. If you look at the voting numbers, it's like almost split down the fucking middle. Like 51-49%.
This fucking year it wasn't. This fucking year it wasn't.
It wasn't good. Wasn't good this year. But even then, if there's like 75 million people that votes this way, and then 65 million that votes the other way, or 68, that's a lot of fucking people that are voting on separate waves. So you have to understand that like everybody is not going to be voting the same way as you do because everybody doesn't have the exact same values or ideals that you do. And that's totally fine because we live in a country where you can have, or you're supposed to be able to have your own ideals or whatever. My issue is Hogan obviously is flying the flag a little too hard to me, even though we know what Taker and like Kane and all those people do. Kane flies it a little. I would interested to see what Kane would get if he showed up.
Hogan's flying it that hard because that's his grift now. That's his fucking.
That's all he got. Yeah. That's all he got.
But that's what I'm saying. He's basically a MAGA grifter on a fucking wrestling show in fucking Los Angeles. Not just Los Angeles, but they announced the gate, the highest gate ever. So you're talking about a financially elite tier of people in Los Angeles who are here. What fucking crowd is going to be more fucking liable to react fucking negatively to somebody who's a MAGA spokesperson? Call him what he is. He's a MAGA spokesperson. Yep. He's a front-facing, mic-working person of the fucking movement. You might as well have Trump fucking walk out there. Hello?
Now there was like some Texas, it was like a Texas or Kentucky or
maybe it would have been different. Like that. But at that point, he would have just got booed for the racism. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's multiple things at work here.
And that's to be fair, the certain sectors of the work probably wouldn't get booed too much for his racism. But I think Hogan, I think wrestling has almost evolved past the need for guys like Hogan's and the Flairs.
Well, that's going to be the next part of this that we're going to break. Or what I was going to say was that, who to the people who are attending wrestling shows now, who is Hogan to them? Other than the guy who was racist on the fucking phone call that they all heard, and a MAGA spokesperson. Who is he to them? Other than that, fucking nobody.
Also, people forget is that the curtain has been rolled back on professional wrestling way too much now, to the point where the image of Hulk Hogan as this a real American hero that comes out there, saves the day, and conquers. Now you know who he really is, outside of just the MAGA, outside of like even
exactly.
racism. Like, we've seen him be someone who has like
Be
ruined
a fucking
careers,
cornball.
ruined
Yeah.
pushes, and like do all this bullshit. And like, now that you know that because of these documentaries, these videos on the YouTube, the WWE Vault, like all these, like we have so much access that now you see like Hulk Hogan politicked his way, which once again, politics happens all the time in wrestling. It's happening currently as we speak. As WrestleMania nears and AEW struggles to get out of whatever they're in. Like, politics happens all the time, but you just typically don't know about it until like years down the line. We have so much access to where you know who's the biggest politicker in WWE now, and the biggest politicker in AEW, which should be very apparent. They come from the same group actually. But you can look at that and see Hogan fucked over Bret Hart, fucked over this person, and you fuck over beloved wrestlers, you're gonna get booed. Like, prime example, Shawn Michaels was an asshole during his prime, but he came back. He kind of atoned for his sins, made amends with people, and now he's like one of the most beloved bookers. I know he's my favorite booker just because of what he the talent he brought into NXT. But like, now he's beloved. Ric Flair it's funny, Flair has not really gotten booed like that when showing up, although he probably should also, but he doesn't have as strong of racist situations as Hogan does. But Flair has, some weird cases, some people in the wrestling business who said he's been racist to them. So there's moments like Teddy Long is very adamant about not liking Ric Flair because of him being racist and whatever. Ric Flair's book showcases some underlying racism that I don't even think he realized he was saying, but that's the thing. So you have all this in wrestling. Like, this is just a part of the business, part of business I don't necessarily like, but it's a part of business. So when these guys get older and their necessity is not as strong, the fans don't really care to see him anymore.
Get
Because
this fucking guy out of my face. Yeah,
if
exactly.
you wanted to see Hulk Hogan, you wanted to see Ric Flair, you don't have to watch Raw. You don't have to watch Dynamite. You don't have to watch SmackDown. You can go to your local wrestling convention, and 9 times out of 10, one of those dudes will be there signing at WrestleCons and your WrestleCades and your Wrestle. That's where people who care about the legends go to see them. You don't get, if Hogan goes to a WrestleCade, he's not getting booed while he's sitting there signing autographs, because you're going to him to see him. That's what you do as legends. You're not, unless you're Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, guys like that, you don't have much relevance to the program now. And I guess with the Netflix, I guess the whole thing with Netflix was we wanted to have big names there. But let's be real about Hogan, man. Like, Hogan wasn't really a part of the Raw era anyway. So like, he had he had 1993 was his last year in WWE. So, and then he came back in 2002 and he wrestled like a little bit, and then he wrestled a few times. So I feel like for people like the Undertaker, people like a Stone Cold, people like a Rock, that's who, when you have a Raw landmark moment, that's who you gravitate to, that's who you go to. Because I never forget when they did Raw Homecoming, when it came back to USA Network in 2005, and Hogan was like front and center, and I was like, this motherfucker wasn't even like a regular fixture on Raw and during the prime and heyday. Like, Bret Hart would have been better. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get Razor Ramon at that time, or Diesel, would have been better, because those are regular fixtures for WWE Raw. Hulk Hogan represents the golden era, as they used to call it, that like 84 to 92 period, where even in then, if we were looking at people who would be more beloved now, Macho Man Randy Savage, if he was still alive, probably would have been a welcome addition to come on to, or like a Raw or something like that. It's just like guys like Hogan's, your Ultimate Warriors and stuff like that. Ultimate Warrior's gone now, but it's like knowing what people know about him and know about them, if they're not needed, and they weren't needed on WWE television, and Hogan came out to do his lame ass shtick. It was nice to see Jimmy Hart. I'll say that. It's always nice to see Jimmy
So
Hart.
your review, I know you were one of the first that was like, I'll fucking catch the rest of this later. Your general thoughts on Raw.
Yeah, so I started watching NBA League Pass because it was just like, the one thing that sucked was that there was no football, Monday Night Football. So we didn't have any of that because the season ended on past Sunday. So
Yeah.
I'll say this. I hated the fact that Rock's promo went the way it did, but I expected it to when I found out he was opening the show. However, the one thing I'll say about what Rock did was I thought he closed the door on the Cody match because he doesn't really. I don't think he's ever really wanted that match.
So my thing here is, and I get it, and I get like they were just going for the absolute most generic.
Yeah.
But like, what was it that heated the territory up again? What would have a better chance of bringing back lapsed fans than Rock laying down fire?
Being Rock.
Like that's what fucking So I get what you think you're trying to do, but you're ignoring the evidence that you already have in front of you. Like that's what brought the spark to make wrestling cool again. That's arguably a big part of what the fuck made this deal happen. And you know what I mean? And gave them the leverage. Is Rock being Rock again, and it being a compelling story? And Cody, held his weight in that situation, and Roman held his weight in that situation. Like those are the things that brought it back. So why you would abandon that? And I don't know completely. I think you're about to share a theory, and we talked about it a little bit. I don't know if they completely did abandon the final boss, but
it's what it boils down to is sponsorship and your partners. And Netflix, I believe Netflix wanted The Rock to come out and start the era off.
Triple H, Dwayne,
so they wanted, because he's on the board. He's a very important member now of the entire company. So what happens is you have Triple H, who is the number one guy. You got Rock, who is 1B in terms of importance, and they're not going to put Nick Khan on television, who is probably the most important guy in all of this, because he's netting the actual deals and doing the hard stuff behind the scenes. But Rock was supposed to come out there, thank people, credit the people. So it was to basically give the new fans who just tuned in, like, hey, I'm here, and so is Cody. Cody's been awesome. Roman's been great. Those are our two guys, because that's the people that they see as their two top stars. It just, to me, I did not like what I saw, because he did, Rock did toss a little, like, say hi to Mama Rhodes for me and all that stuff like that. So he tossed a little bit out there, but you could tell by his promo that he really had no idea what he was really trying to do and what he was trying to say. But I think Rock's involvement in the tribal combat match, I've talked to several people just to find out, I don't think that was fully planned. I don't think that was a part of anything that they had really discussed. I think that's a Rock Roman solo, like, audible thing, to where Rock was kind of like, let me go out there and do this, because I'm not 100% sure if I'm working Mania, but I'd like to give people the idea of, is he or is he not?
Yeah.
Because that's been the talk. And he said himself a few months ago, don't believe it. But then there's the, Moana live action reshoots that, like, several people have alluded to. But once again, I think people don't understand. Rock is a producer on a lot of these movies. It's just his movies that he's a part of. Rock could easily fly out on a private jet one day to work a fucking Raw once a week if he wants to. And he was training for the live action Moana, because it just required him to be in, like, a certain shape to play, Maui, whatever. And I think this next month is a part of him probably trying to find out if he could be in ring shape to have a one-on-one match. because I mean the guy's 50 plus now, so it's a little different. And I think the reason why
explosive movement, man, that quad's
Yeah.
coming right off. Right off.
So and I think going with the Cody thing was like, I don't think he ever wanted the one-on-one match with Cody.
Hamstring's about to pop like bacon.
But I just don't think he ever wanted that one-on-one match at Mania. I think a Cody match is something that he basically gave you him and Cody.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like we have not explored the Roman Reigns thing, and it felt like the board and some of the creative people wanted to continue the Rock and Cody thing. And I think Rock has made it very clear if he were to wrestle again, he wants to do the Roman thing because that's what he came back for in the first place. Like, let's be clear. He did not come back to work Cody Rhodes in a one-on-one match. He came back to work Roman Reigns because Roman Reigns is supposed to be his last and final match. I think Rock has one more match left in him. And then after that, we'll see The Rock go into the Hall of Fame because he's yet to go in the Hall of Fame. Something that people have not talked about is that he's still active for a reason and not going to the Hall of Fame for a reason. So I think maybe in Vegas they do it. It remains to be seen. Roman Reigns declared for the Rumble, so we'll see. But that was the one thing I just thought was interesting. Even the hug that Rock gave to Roman, it felt like
it took a long time. I was waiting for him to lift the necklace up and then put it over his own head. That's kind of what it looked like. It was headed towards. And
I think it
Swift kicking the balls and fucking go forward. Yeah.
It felt like they were teasing a Heyman swerve almost with Rock too, which I think is another element. But there's also the other element of when CM Punk wants a favor, what could that favor be? Could it be the favor of Punk and Roman as the last two in the Rumble, and Punk, and Heyman helps Punk, eliminate Roman because that's what their deal is, and that puts Punk on a trajectory with Cody for WrestleMania. I know a lot of people want the Cena thing. I actually don't think John Cena, even though he's cutting a promo, John Cena has become very humble backstage since he's not been a full-time wrestler.
Yeah.
So I don't actually think he wants to win Title 17. He's just obviously killing it.
That was very clearly. I think he wants to take us on the journey, on the story of him trying to. But it was very like, that was not a concern at all to him. Like, he just wants to go fucking work and like go see these places and be in front of the fans again for one last year. Like, that was completely the last time it came up, backstage information like a year and a half ago. It was title is nothing to him. Like, and breaking that record is nothing to him.
And I think it's smart too for Cena because you get the fans invested in like, oh yeah, Cena's really gonna do it. But there's also the problem with wrestling fans is that if Cena doesn't win the Rumble, then there's gonna be mad fans. Like, fans are like, oh no, like WWE is not gonna, let him get his last title on the way out. And it's like Cena has full control of what he's gonna do here. And Cena is not gonna go over people at WrestleMania. So he said it was like how many days since he won his last match, which if you know Super Cena in his history, that feels like a different world generation and all that, because he has struggled to win matches and he's going to win matches. I think he's going to win the Elimination Chamber because he's going to be determined to do this after losing the Royal Rumble, which I think Punk's winning the Rumble. And I think they kind of set the tone with, and I think they're trying to throw you off at the scent by like, oh, Cody and Cena. I don't think that's the match. I think they're going to give Cena a heel, and considering he's Marine, American, white meat babyface, I think if you want to give Gunther a proper, big name to defeat at WrestleMania, I think John Cena is the guy. If he wins the Elimination Chamber, it's not that big of a deal to go on and get. I think there was people talking about the Seth Rollins versus Gunther thing, which is cool, but I don't actually expect that to happen. Speaking of Seth Rollins, I do think him and Punk had a really good main event. I would have liked to see like another 5 minutes of that main event. And that's another thing too. It's like with Netflix, it shouldn't be any rush to get to, like the end of the, how they do where they try to rush for the end of the show. It shouldn't be a need to do that now that they're on Netflix because there's no time constraints, or at least it shouldn't be. So I would have liked to have seen Punk and Seth get like 5 more minutes, but for what we did get of like the 15 or 20 minutes of the match, I thought it was really good. But I'm sure we'll see another Punk and Seth match down the line, maybe SummerSlam if Punk wins the title from Cody or something like that, or whoever, maybe we'll get a revamp of that, and then Seth can go over Punk for the belt. We could definitely see that. But other than that, I really don't remember much from Raw. Considering this,
I will say on the positive note, it looked fucking crazy. Like they have some opportunities to do some real.
Oh, great!
Like it's almost like they gotta step up their game for the PLEs now. Because like that Rock entrance was fucking insane. The Drew and McIntyre entrance was fucking insane. The fucking Jimmy fucking Uso with goddamn can't remember his fucking name out there with the fucking smoke blowing and the fucking like everybody fucking popped for that.
Great production.
The production was fucking crazy. So looking forward to more of that. Just hope more of the production is dedicated to wrestling next time.
Well, this next episode looks like it could be some real graps, as they say.
Yeah.
Shout out to Penta, finally about to make his debut.
No time limit on the show, so man, let those fucking guys go out there and cook.
Give him 15, 20 minutes, 25. I'll say this. I do know there were some changes and rewrites to this debut, and it's very confusing because Becky Lynch was backstage. The Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley thing was supposed to kick off because that's heading into Elimination Chamber, I believe. And I think a few things would have helped the show feel even bigger.
The Becky Lynch thing. So the things I would have added is the Becky Lynch thing, and I would have loved to have Gable and his guys. And shit, if they were going against LWO, you could have involved Ivy Nile too. Had them go against LWO, Rey Mysterio, throw Zelina in there too if you want to have Ivy Nile in the match. I think that would have been a great like middle of the show, give them 10, 12 minutes, everybody flipping the fuck around. I think that would have been a great thing for like new, even if you are trying to hit a new general audience, like, wow, that was a lot of like fast paced, like catch your eye action. Everybody knows Rey Mysterio. He's a fucking legend in the game. Here's these other guys we have. They're Olympians. They can fucking toss everybody around. I think that would have been it was fucking badly needed. And then you have Chad Gable backstage talking shit. Oh, I whoop all the luchadors. Give me somebody else. Oh, he's like, oh, I got something for you next week. And then you show the Penta fucking thing, and there you go.
Yeah, because they did spoil like Penta's arrival, obviously, by putting a mask and showing his name. I'll say this though. What I was under the impression of what was going to happen was that the New Day and the Rey Mysterio thing, because they've been doing this on the house shows. So, New Day versus Rey Mysterio, and it was CM Punk one night, and I think it was like maybe Sami Zayn or somebody else the other night. So when you have stuff like that, I think there is something there to, most people expected Penta to be the surprise partner because Rey hasn't announced his partner. So I am curious to see where that goes, and that's something that like the template that they've set for this current Raw coming up, it's very wrestling heavy so far, and it's less story orientated, and I think that's a good thing for Raw because until Rock can confirm he's going to work Mania time, even though I think he probably will. Roman is not expected to always be on Raw, so we'll see. I mean, he'll probably appear every now and then, especially hitting the Mania season. So they haven't really said much about Punk being on Raw this week like that, so I haven't seen that. But there's going to be some interesting things set up, and a lot of people are automatically saying when Penta arrives, he's getting a great first start. You're getting Chad Gable in your first match. give them 15 minutes. And I think Penta is as healthy as he's been in a couple years. So if he can go out there and manage to stay healthy and do it, I think we could see him get a singles title run somewhere along the line, maybe summertime or something like that. Ray Phoenix, not a lot of people are probably wondering what's going on with that. All I know is Ray Phoenix still has some months
Not
to
shit.
go.
Yeah.
So same way with another person in AEW who likely is headed to WWE. Has a few
Maybe
months
a little
left.
sooner. God damn it! I will lose my fucking mind if that music hits and that entrance happens in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm hoping they do the right. I'm hoping that the right thing happens here because look, I get what people are saying. There's a lot of conversation about like, yo, we don't like every person that leaves AEW shouldn't just go to WWE, and that's a fair assessment because not everybody that leaves AEW is WWE, worthy, if I'll say, in terms of being a prominent player. But when you have your Pentas, your Ray Phoenixes, your Ricky Starks, and your almost said Aleister Black.
Yeah, well,
Malachi Black.
that's who he is now.
Yeah. For Malachi.
Like he was a Triple H guy. It was he was arguably, if you put up the two runs against each other, just as successful and prominent in the WWE as he was. The NXT run was fucking bananas, man. Like it was really good.
Great. He was at his peak there.
Yeah. That Andrade match at Takeover, you gotta go back and check that out when he won the belt. It was a fucking great match. Speaking of dubbing it up, Dynamite existed this week.
As it typically does on Wednesday. It exists.
No Private Party or Daniel Garcia for yet another week. Don't know what we're doing here.
They followed up though. I think was the Collision had.
They've been on Collision. They he had a talking. Private Party did have a talking segment on Dynamite. I guess that's better than nothing. I just don't know how. It was supposed to be this big cathartic thing to put those guys over and put those guys on the belts, and now we're going to get behind this, and then
the Young Bucks didn't even want to put them over in the first place,
and then they're not on the fucking show, like ever, or on the pay-per-views.
Because they weren't the first choice, as the Young Bucks have said on that podcast that they did. The Young Bucks wanted to lose to the Outrunners and not the Private Party, which don't get me wrong.
I mean,
I love the Outrunners.
Would have been a fucking great idea too.
Great idea.
But if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna do it, then fucking do it and don't.
But you know what it is? What that boils down to? It's seniority. Like people are like private. Like if you can't put the Outrunners over because there's going to be a large selection of their fan base that feels like Private Party's been here, Top Flight's been here, and you guys don't.
Private Party is very young, and the Outrunners are the youngest team alive that's ever lived. So very young and very vascular. So you can't just put those young bucks over like right off the bat.
But I think that's where the issue probably comes in, and that's why they didn't do it, and that's why they mentioned the idea and they wanted to do it, but it didn't happen because Private Party was a better story. Private Party had been through the ringer really and deserved to go out there and be treated like champions. But now that they are champions, and like I said, you mentioned Daniel Garcia, I honestly have no idea what he's been doing. I think the most screen time that I've seen Daniel Garcia get is that he was in Toni Storm's thing in video and catering, and she asked if he had seen her match. He looked at her, which, speaking of, Toni Storm is goddamn the best character.
The best
fucking character. That she's the type of character to where you could actually see her becoming an actress in Hollywood and like a comedic actress if she wanted to do that, because she literally has excellent comedic timing. To which, to be fair, a lot of comedians and actresses now don't have that in a lot of these TV shows and these movies. And I've seen my fair share of movies and TV shows over the last 5 years, and just the way they're producing her with this new gimmick, this very office Michael Scott-esque vignette that they did with her in catering and walking up to like Colt Cabana and Christopher Daniels and everybody asking them to watch her match, and her being this young upstart coming here to make a name for herself. If you take that and then take obviously the timeless Tony Storm nonsense, this is like, for AEW, this is the best character work that's ever been done in their women's division, and I don't think you're going to get anything else better than that anytime soon. Mercedes Moné, excellent wrestler, but character work, no.
There was people, saying, celebratory, self-congratulatory towards AEW, like, oh, you should be excited now because they're doing something with Hobbs. He won that gauntlet match. He's the number one contender. It's like, how many times have we been through this, man? Oh, this is the time that they're going to follow through with Hobbs. Hey, you know what? All credit. If he goes out and squashes him for the belt on fucking Wednesday, I'll lose my goddamn mind. That's just the type of thing that AEW needs to regain the spark of what they used to be. Is non-formulaic. You don't know what's going to happen. Fucking energy. But most likely he's going to go out there. It's going to be the same formula. It's going to do a decent job. He's going to count himself well. Some sort of fuck finish is going to happen. And in a few weeks, we won't be seeing Hobbs no more. That's just what I've come to expect. They just put the belts on fucking Dana Garcia private party, and we don't see them. So, yeah. But, yeah, sure. For now, good decision. Good decision having Hobbs win that thing. We advocate for Hobbs all the time on here.
What's the next pay-per-view? Was it Revolution? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's in March.
Does anyone where's Revolution taking place? I should look this up because we all know what the match
in LA, I'm pretty sure.
In LA? Oh, right. At the was it Intuit Dome, right? Just the same place that at Raw was just that. I'm 100% sure they're not going to sell nearly as many tickets. But I think they're building to a Mox versus Cope match instead at Revolution.
I believe so.
Which, hey, Dean Ambrose versus Edge would have been a great match. However many years ago, and it could still be a good match. I think
it'll still be good, nice and violent.
I just don't have a desire to see this personally. I just, AEW. A lot of people enjoy Jon Moxley and what he does. I have not been a big fan of what Jon Moxley does in like 3-4 years personally. It's not for me. I think he has good matches, but character-wise, it just hasn't clicked for me in a long time. Truthfully, honestly, it hasn't clicked for me since his Omega feud back when the fucking AEW first started. I just have not been super invested in what he does. I mean, I thought the BCC was like cool, but I like the BCC because of everybody else. Like I like seeing Claudio and Danielson do their thing. Mox, it just hasn't, like, even when he did like the Punk feud, it just didn't like. And that was the one Punk feud where it was just like, and like AEW wise, it was just like, for me personally. So I just don't see it. And like he's been champion so many times, it feels like, and
so many times. What do you think of this whole thing? This everybody, having something to say about this Darby Allin. He ain't going to be back till July. I thought it was funny that y'all are all assuming that we weren't going to be stuck suffering with this until July. Anyway,
yeah.
I'll say more. Like I get it. The visual is like, you thought you killed me. Here I am standing on fucking Everest, and I'm going to come down there and take that belt off of you. And Zabada.
I'll be honest. I have a lot of respect for Darby as a performer, but I think he's a fucking idiot. And climbing Mount Everest is typically something that people don't like survive. So I think to do things for the thrill of them, just to do them, I just think he's kind of an idiot. And
I mean, that's how that dude is, though.
And that's how he is.
You can call him an idiot, but like, People,
No.
everybody got to do what they got to do.
And that's his prerogative. But as a CEO, if I'm Tony Khan, and I would never be
I
Tony
don't
Khan.
see how that was like. So people are like, people are reacting to this like it was an after the fact deal. Like, and I'm not, from what we know how AEW runs, maybe this conversation didn't happen before this whole plan got set into motion. But you would think. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why people thought this was going to be over sooner than July, because obviously it seemed pretty clear, like the plan going back to, what was that, October, right? That Moxley took the belt.
Yep.
That the plan was for Darby to take it off of Mox, right? Going all the way back to Grand Slam, because that's how that whole the most idiotic setup of a fucking title shot in the history of professional wrestling happened. The whole thing was the story was going to close out with Darby conquering Mox and getting the belt. Like, Darby knew when he was going to do the Everest thing. So that's kind of been part of the conversation from that far back. So I don't know why everybody's reacting like this just happened. Like, they knew this when they set it up.
I do think AEW in their mind thought that they could convince Darby to not.
Maybe that was the case. Maybe that was the case.
After he fucked his foot up and he didn't do it,
which, if that is the case, is also really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Why would you why would you base the booking of your main fucking belt, your main storyline of the show, on something because you think you can convince a guy to not do some shit he wants to go do?
Also, I just wouldn't have put Darby in that position if he was so hell bent on doing this. And like, there are other options if AEW wants to put the belt on other people.
If this is what this is doing, and the numbers are doing what they're doing, and we're not going to have Darby back until whatever the fuck, Full Gear, All Out, have Hobbs fucking squash fucking Moxley, and then a month later have Omega take it off him. Bam, good to go, done.
I think
I know that they're like obsessed, which is weird because they don't do anything else like an old school traditional wrestling show. I know AEW's like obsessed with these long title runs, but like, fuck, man, inject a little bit of a holy shit, what's going to happen into your fucking show. Sure, a couple. They don't got to hot potato it regularly, but fuck. Hobbs beats him out of nowhere. Holy shit, he just killed him. Get the belt back on Omega. And then maybe along the way, somehow, you do a multi-man match, or somehow Mox gets it back, and then Darby's back, and then we go through. You know what I'm saying? You can inject some twists and some turns in the story on the way to getting to the end of where you want to fucking be.
It sounds
just being this endless, reheated monster heel group goes over everybody's shit that is not working.
It sounds insane if you say it out loud. But AEW needs some 1999 WWF chaos.
Yes, absolutely.
Because 1999 as a year is dog shit for WWF. But the amount of nonsense and excitement that happens where you start the year, fucking Vince McMahon made himself win the Rumble, and then he puts the title shot up, Stone Cold and Vince go to see who, in a steel cage to see who's gonna go to WrestleMania. Stone Cold wins. He beats The Rock. He loses to The Undertaker over the Edge, which I still think was a peculiar choice. And then he beats The Undertaker like a month later for the belt back on a random Raw, mind you, not a pay-per-view, on a random Raw after King of the Ring or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then he, loses it at SummerSlam to Mankind because he didn't want to do the job for Triple H one-on-one, which that's a whole weird situation because it was China at first. With Stone Cold and versus China was supposed to be the match, and then it would change to Triple H, and then Mankind got involved, and then Mankind loses the very next night to fucking Triple H on Raw, and then Triple H loses it 2-3 months later to the Big Show. That was 19. It was so insane and ridiculous that it still was like you never knew what to expect, so you didn't want to miss a single show. Whereas
and then your long title reigns will still, make them better. You can go back to that because there will still always be the element of it could happen.
Because that's what they're missing, because if you see Mox, if fans can tell what the end game is,
Yeah, because
far
right now
out,
we're all just, I mean, the fact that the discourse is like, oh, now we got to wait for this. Like, so in essence, everybody knows that we're just
everybody,
waiting around for this to end
because
with
I don't think
Allen and Mox. Like, if you have it that obvious in that, like, we're just kind of passing time here until what we know we're ultimately getting to, and it's that clear to the crowd, like, nah, man.
because that's why I said 1999 WWF, because you had
Yeah.
the year starts with Mankind winning the belt. The Rock wins it back. Stone Cold wins it, loses to Taker, wins it back, loses to Mankind, who loses to Triple H, loses to Big Show. That's a ton of names in 1 year. No reign in 1999 was longer than 3 months in the WWF in 1999. So what that does is, Vince McMahon beat Triple H for the title on a random SmackDown, which was the dumbest idea ever, but it was so crazy when you watched it live. You're like, oh shit, they really did this. The Hobbs thing, like we're talking about, is something that if he beats Mox, it's like, oh shit, they really did this.
Yes.
It might make you want to watch the next week. But knowing AEW, Hobbs is going to have one of those valiant efforts and get screwed by Pac or Claudio, whoever, or Marina Shafir is going to show up, hold his leg, and it's going to turn into a thing. And then they're going to go into this Cope versus because Tony Khan does not pivot at all. He does not pivot at all. And I know very well he don't pivot at all from what he just got his stubborn ass mind up on not doing or doing. And so if he could pivot and just do something different, the excitement for Mox versus Edge is not there. It's just not there like that, because these are two guys who it's like, Edge comes back and says, hey, I'm not going to be Adam Copeland. I'm going to be Cope. But like, we all know you was Adam Copeland. Nobody really called you Cope. I just didn't think it's just weird. Like, it's just weird. You're trying to make it something. You're trying to be like Edge, but it's not. And it's just weird. And so I don't think that's working like it's supposed to. And also, I think people are like, hey, Kenny Omega's back. Let's just go straight to Kenny Omega, because every time this dude's on a fucking TV, and I get it's been hard to give Omega a lot because he's been injured and hurt for the better part of the last 2-3 years. So, but now that he seems to be healthy, he's focused. I mean, he just had a fucking phenomenal match with Gabe Kidd, and I think that's the guy. It's always been the case. The ace of the company is not Jon Moxley. It's Kenny Omega. It's always been. And
everybody's kind of eyeballing.
Sometimes I wish, man, look,
show.
If Kenny Omega wasn't friends with the Young Bucks and Colt Cabana.
Yeah. Especially now. Especially in this era. Yeah. Everybody's eyeballing. I will say all in is all in, as they're teasing Okada and Omega in America. Make that shit for the belt, man.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm not that excited about it, because these guys are like 7 years older now. I mean, Omega to me is probably a little bit more polished of a wrestler now than he was.
It's going to be good because Omega's in it, but Omega's definitely, he's better now. He's the best version he's ever been, because he's still polished, because he has aged up a little bit, because his matches have more logical selling sequences, etc. Like, yes.
I think you can say that for a number of these guys who are, a little older. A lot of these guys are better than they were when they were younger and more, spiry and able to move around. Like a lot of these, because you
heard it a million times. It ain't exactly. It's not about the moves. It's how and when the moves are done, and where they fit into what we're doing in the fucking match. Can't wait. Osprey's going to be fucking incredible in like 10 years. What I will say about Osprey, though, because I've said, those matches are just not really for me. I was, especially at that match with the match with Kyle Fletcher, I was saying it in a group chat that I'm in. I'm like, this fucking guy never messes up anything. How can Can he do the shit that he does and be exactly where he needs to be perfectly every time? It's fucking ridiculous, man. It's incredible.
He's a hell of an athlete. That's just what it boils down to. Ospreay is a hell of an athlete because you have to be a graceful athlete to do what he's done. You have to be graceful as an athlete to do that because most people cannot, like you say, he doesn't mess up anything. He's always on point, always on. It's insane to think about. But I personally feel like, all these guys that are out there now are going to be a lot better especially if they learn to kind of pay attention and listen to some of the older generation who kind of teaching them like, hey, it's okay to slow down sometimes. And I think that's been, that's
I'm not even saying take stuff out. Like just
slow it
let
down,
it register, sell a little bit, fucking go move. Like you could keep like that Kyle Fletcher Will Ospreay match. You could have kept everything that was in that match and just made it 20% longer, and it would have been fucking epic. You know what I'm saying? Like when you do the big move, just make sure you fall far away from each other so you have the extra time to make it believable that it took longer for you to get back to each other. People have recovered a little bit. It's just stuff like that.
The one thing I will say though, I do appreciate a lot of how well the things have gone for AEW in the wrestling department. I think they pride themselves on being the wrestling promotion, and I think that's what they need to really focus on because these stories that they have absolutely suck. Just absolutely suck. Like the Daniel Garcia thing really is like a wet fart. The private party title run has not really done anything.
They don't realize how much they are eroding their ability to tell those stories in the future. Because if it's the story is the journey, but if we've all seen all these times that like the journey ends up being resulting in nothing, even if they win, then nobody's going to care about the journey anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like the follow-up is just as important because we love this guy so much. He's been so close so many times. Like, let's go on this journey with him, building towards getting to that mountaintop. But if nothing happens after the mountaintop over and over and over and over, this is actually like, this message is like, oh, this is like a bad thing for this guy that I like. This is a bad thing for this tag team that I like. Because once this is over, they're not going to know what to fucking do with him. And then I'm not going to see him on TV no more.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so speaking of journeys that paid off, real quick before we get out of here, it would be remiss of us because we've been going on and on about this individual for a year, and it happened. One of our queens, Tiffany Stratton, goddamn it,
yes, sir,
had a phenomenal cash in last week. Excellent crowd reaction, everything pulled off, fucking perfectly, like everything that she does. Awesome, man. SmackDown women's roster rocking. Tiffany Stratton cashing in. Phenomenal choice. Real good number one contenders match this past week on SmackDown for the ladies on there. Fucking hype for Tiffany Stratton. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a star. Really nothing else to say about it. Tiffany's a star. Tiffany is completely over, and she just got over by being who she is and just being the talent that she is. Like there's nothing else to it. Like she didn't have a fancy little catchphrase. She doesn't have anything, just doesn't need to do too much. She just goes out there, performs, and does great. She's a natural athlete, obviously. Hella, just amazing athletic ability, just great all around. She's taken to wrestling very well, considering how she, where she started from. And I'm interested to see where they go with it next. I do have my concerns on her WrestleMania match, which it feels like it's looming a little bit.
Some brothering going on.
Yeah,
that doesn't work for me, brother. No.
I hope if you bring back someone that's been off for a year from
whose
injury.
style is somewhat similar to Tiffy's.
I think if you do bring somebody back like that, I think you should be very cautious and
The
pretty
way
much
to
say,
tell
hey,
that story is Tiffy wins. Like the 2.0 wins at WrestleMania.
Yep.
And then the original, we're talking about Charlotte, by the way. The original then has to reassess who they are, what they are, use that experience to then come back in a rematch and fucking prevail. But the big spotlight, the big platform, that's the one you use to put over the 2.0, the new person. And then if you need to put the belt on Charlotte after that, then you tell that story.
They should do that. I don't even think they should put the belt like Charlotte's head.
I'm just trying to be realistic, because we all know.
No, I get it. Realistically, this is what they're doing. But also, there's no Vince, right? So there's also that Charlotte was Vince's pride and joy. And I'll be honest, Triple H does not see her in that same way, which is probably a big part of the reason why Charlotte is okay to go away. And even though she was hurt, even when she wasn't hurt, she was taking hiatuses and breaks to go frolic in the sun with Andrade because she knows that brothering ain't gonna hit the same because Tiffany Stratton is Triple H's Charlotte, really. So it's interesting, but that's also a thing that I think with WWE. I like that they let Rhea Ripley have her moment on Raw, but I thought it was confusing that they brought Undertaker out like that was so random. Like, why? But I felt like the Becky Lynch thing would have been like, people would have been like, oh shit, like Rhea Ripley goes viral once a week, because it's Rhea Ripley, so obviously she's gonna go viral. But if you bring Becky Lynch, who is also one of the biggest names in women's wrestling, I think for that moment, we've done it. And I think with Charlotte is a big name as well. So Tiffany's gonna eventually, I'm assuming they're waiting for Charlotte for the Royal Rumble. I think a lot of the returns and people that they're just gonna bring them back at the Royal Rumble. But like I said, I think Rhea Ripley is probably facing Becky Lynch at Elimination Chamber. I think Io Sky is probably winning the Women's Royal Rumble. Probably. She'd be the front runner right now because I think they've kind of alluded, like, how WWF used to
Io Sky and Tiffy, that'd be fucking something. Lord.
So I think what they're going for is, this is just my perspective, Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky WrestleMania, Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte. That's what I'm thinking. But then that brings other questions, right? Like, what does Becky Lynch do at WrestleMania? What does Bianca Belair do at WrestleMania? What does Bayley do at WrestleMania? So there is a gray area here that you really got to look at, because you want to do one-on-one matches, but then also you could also do two women's matches a night. On both 2 nights, and you could do one title match on night 1, one title match on night 2, another women's match on night 1, on night 2. But you just want to make sure you're telling enough compelling stories with what they do, and I don't know which way they're gonna go. But I'm 99% sure Io Sky is, because she is a Triple H favorite as well. I'm 99% sure she's going to be the one that takes on Rhea Ripley, because they hinted at that the couple weeks ago. So I think they're like, they WWF used to do that back in the day, right? Like,
little pass bys
previews, and so I'm interested to see that. We'll see what Tiffany Stratton does. I just don't want, like, Charlotte.
Has Charlotte and Bianca Belair ever done anything?
That's a good question.
Because I feel like that would be a very fucking interesting mix of styles.
But there's one elephant in the room that will show itself for Bianca and her. Jade Cargill is not really injured, and she will be back.
Yeah.
So the question,
that's what I was thinking. They'll probably do a tag title match. That's how they'll get Bianca in a big spot on the show.
Maybe.
Or we're gonna see some digitized parking lot security camera footage. That was my thought from the beginning of that.
We getting that Triple H Shawn Michaels vibe. I don't know. It's interesting because most people think Naomi is the one that took out Jade. Most people think,
I know that's what they think, and that's why it's gonna be good.
I'll just say this: turning Bianca heel that is a risk. But I feel like with all the new blood and Tiffany Strattons and Rhea Ripley's and stuff like that, I actually think Rhea Ripley becoming a face again makes Bianca turning heel a lot more intriguing for a potential SummerSlam, WrestleMania 42 situation. There's a lot there. Even if they wanted to do it at 41, if they didn't want to go with Io Sky,
because we never got that resolution either. We never
Nope.
really got a real Rhea Ripley Bianca Belair throwdown in a large platform either.
No, we haven't, and I think that's what's missing, because remember at that with the Royal Rumble,
Royal Rumble, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a chance there. So there's a lot. I'll give WWE that they have so many good women that you could go. I don't think
they have
anybody
so many, and there's so many
Rhea versus
coming up.
Bianca.
There's so many coming up. The crop coming up is going to be insane.
Oh
they got Julia. They got Stephanie Vacker. They got
shout out to Julia.
Lara Valkyria starting to get built. New NXT Women's Champion. Hell yeah. Oh, Bafemi, new fucking NXT champion. Fuck yeah. We looking to be your new champion of sports media, DAR Sports Media. We got our NFL preview. We're recording this. You might be listening to this before the NFL, the second day of NFL playoff game. Hope that today better make up for yesterday, because yesterday was fucking stank in the NFL playoffs. Our NFL playoff preview
much better today.
We will have the college football championship preview coming up later this week while you're listening to us. Fucking Hoops Hour is coming back this week, so be on the lookout for that as the NBA season enters into its serious business portion of the season, and everything else you've come to expect from DAR Sports Media. Soul Revival 6 still out there burning up the digital charts. Go give it a few spins when you got a chance. If you're listening to this and you are not subscribed, thank you for checking us out, but please do hit that subscribe button. Subscribers get the pods first before we advertise them. So if you're interested in that, check it out. My guy True is going to be very, very busy in a lot of places this week as media in person covering sports events. I'll leave the other thing you might be covering. I'll leave that up to.
Let's leave that as a surprise.
Let that be a surprise for everybody. But as you can see, in person, scouting, basketball, football, the world of combat sports. Anybody out there within the sound of my voice, if you want to come do an MMA pod on DAR Sports Media, I am here for you. That's what I would like as well. So
working on that for you. Actually,
let us know.
Got the people.
Brother, the world of DAR never stops.